All right, so we're going to journey on from where we left off. So far we have all the components that we need for the small building, and our next step is just to do the documentation. So we're just going to do it all on one sheet. So we're just going to start a new sheet by clicking on sheets, click on new sheet, or we can also go to view and scroll over, I think, and click on sheet. I'm just going to cancel that. All right, so by default, you're going to get a 30 by 42, which is an E1 size sheet. Um, so it's a pretty big sheet, but and since it's such a small building, I don't think we really need one that big. So what we're going to do is actually go in and go to title blocks and choose a 22 by 34 instead. So it's just going to be one sheet. It's going to have everything on it. Typically, we can edit the sheet. So I'm going to edit the family of this. I'm going to double click on it. And there's a lot of stuff, some stuff on here that we don't really need. So I'm just going to delete all these consultants and all this other stuff right here. And we don't really need that either. And if you want to customize it, you can. So we don't necessarily have to do anything customization to it. So we're just going to do a file, save as family, and we're going to call this one. We're going to take out the RFA. Yeah, yes, behind it, so we'll know which one it is. And we'll do save. Then we're going to load it into the project. And since we weren't in a view that you can actually see that in, it's going to give you an error at the bottom, but it did actually load it. So if you go back over here to sheets and hit the little plus next to it, you're going to see page A101. It should be in here, but that one's not. So let's see what it does here. Like we may have to load that one in. So let's go back to sheets here. New sheet. Then pick that one. Yeah. So we got two sheets, but what we'll do is go back to this one and hit the drop down in properties and change it. Oh, there we go. All right. So don't necessarily need both sheets, so we just need one. So we can delete A102. All right. So on this particular one, we're gonna drag and drop our views, and in Revit, it's a pretty quick process to do it. So we just basically just grab level one, and we want to just probably rename it first, and we'll rename it floor plan. Do we want to associate it with other levels? No, we'll just say no to that. And we're gonna drag it over, and we're gonna drop it. And if it's too small, then we'll change the scale, but it to to 1/4. So right here in this bottom corner, you can change the scale. But what I'm gonna do is actually hide these because I don't need them in that view. So we're gonna hide the category. Then we'll go back to the sheet, and it tightens the view up. So it's just that and not all the viewports cameras and so forth. And we're gonna stretch that in. So you have to click on the view first, and then to adjust the size of that. All right, so now we have our north, south, east, and west elevations, and I'm gonna rename those as I go along. So this is my front, rear, right, and left. All right, so I'm gonna put these on the sheet. I'm gonna drag them out, front, rear, left. Something wrong with that one. No. And we'll go back to it. And right. All right, so those two scale on those two are must be at 1/8. So what we're gonna do is just go back to each one of those views and change the scale to 1/4. And then we're gonna drag these to the inside. So we don't need these really, really, really long elevation lines to stretch that far. So I do the same thing on the left. But typically when you change it on the left, it'll automatically change it on the right as well, because those two are kind of like the same lines. But we will change the scale to 1/4, and then the text gets a little bit smaller. All right, so let's go back to our sheet, and as you see, those two have adjusted. So which means that I'm gonna have to make a little room right here. I'm gonna move this over, line it up, and then make an adjustment to it. The arrow keys kind of line this up. They're all the same size around from one side to the next. It's kind of easy to just kind of line them up. And I'm going to move this and align it also, and then readjust the size of it. All right, so I'm going to move this here. So I'm going to give myself a 3D representation of the building, and I'm going to do that by dragging. I'm going to first duplicate my 3D view. I'm not going to use that one because it's on the inside, but I'm going to use the one on the exterior. I'm going to duplicate it. And rename it to the perspective. And I'm going to hide my levels. So to be just that by itself. All right. And I'm going to put one more picture. I'm going to use a camera this time. I'm going to face the camera out. And I'm going to turn on shade it. And I'm also going to turn on shadows. And I may actually render this one just to kind of show you. So I'll hide the crop region, and I'm going to turn the shadows on. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to render this one just so you can see what it looks like rendered. So render is on the view, and I'm going to click on the little teapot for render, and I'm just going to put it on high. I'm not going to put it on best. It takes forever for that. We're going to change nothing actually. We're going to do exterior sun only. We can set the time of the day and so forth, but I'm not going to go through that right now. And I'm just going to hit render, and I'm going to stop the video for a moment while this is rendering. Well, I may not have to. It actually like it's doing it pretty quick. I think I will go ahead and pause it for a moment. Okay, so now the render is done. It took it roughly about almost 10 minutes. So after you get to this point, what you're going to do is actually save to project. And then you can close this up. What it does, once you hit save the project, it creates another category over here for rendering. So it could be on the rendering. So every render that you do, it'll be here. All right, so we're going to go back to our sheet. And we're going to actually drag our, I think I'm going to put this in the middle. Or that way. And I'm going to take my rendering, put it up top, and then I'm going to take that 3D view and put it at the bottom. And then that's going to kind of balance my look out. And these, I'm going to grab those and nudge them over to the right a little bit. And I think that's about it. You know what? That looks kind of strange. So maybe I should put that there. And then move this down a little bit. I think that might look a little bit better. It's a little bit unbalanced. All right. So whatever arrangement that we got it at. Try to align these two here. All right. Now, if you can't really get stuff right, you can double click on any of the views and activate it. Then right mouse click and deactivate. Then that you can make adjustments on the sheet without having to go back to the actual views over here. All right, so last but not least is the owner. And since there is no owner, you can make up one if you want. I'm gonna call this the recreational space, and you're gonna name building plan, project number 001, due date, today's date, author, me, and checker will be me. And that's pretty much it. And your last step is just to export this to PDF. Yeah, take that back. You can't. I forgot this is the older version, so we can't export it to PDF. So we'll have to print it to PDF. So let's do print setup first. All right, so we're going to change the printer, Microsoft to PDF, setup, paper size 11 by 17, which would be tabloid, and we're going to center it, fit the page, that'll stay the same, and we'll do OK, and preview. And once it looks okay, we'll print, hit OK. In my case, I'm going to put it on my flash drive here. And hit save.